All who seek to create something magnificent must survive their own depths. Greetings, Harbingers. Welcome to Iliaster, PewDiePie's favorite channel, your realm of personal development, stoicism, and cyber alchemy. Please give the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, help a brother out, growing this channel together. Thank you so much. Let's go to the video. The alchemical twilight becoming the ultimate form of life. From ancient grimoires to alchemical scrolls, from the fires of Paracelsus to the cryptic texts of Fulcanelli, they all whisper the same truth. The great work cannot be completed without confronting the great shadow. In alchemy, the great work, aka the magnum opus, is the sacred transformation of base matter into gold. But gold here is not just metal, it's the self transfigured. So ultimately, it's not about wealth, it's about transformation, purification, transmutation. So the alchemist's language is through symbols: fire, water, earth, and wind, which aren't elements per se, but stages of spiritual evolution, such as the stages of gold, nigrido, albedo, sinitrius, and lastly, rubido. The person behind this channel's name, Paracelsus, the man who crafted the term Iliaster, says, "He who wants to reborn must first destroy their false self." So it's not about building greatness, it's about sacrificing, consuming what's not worth, what doesn't have to be there, what needs to be, well, burned in order to be transmuted into something new. It falls into the law of equivalent trade as well. And speaking of destruction, we cannot not talk about it. The Ouroboros, or if you want the Maya version, the Quetzalcoatl. The Ouroboros, the serpent devouring their own tail, is the most primal of the alchemic symbols. It represents the circle of death, rebirth, destruction, and construction, or creation. Fulcanelli says, in order to birth the higher, you must digest the lower. Powerful statement, right? So the serpent eats itself not to die, but to become whole. This video is very metaphorical, but I want you to make a reflection through my words into your own life and try to make sense of what does that mean. I speak a lot of in practical terms here, but as an alchemy enthusiast, and one of the core themes of this channel, what I call the cyber alchemy, which is using all the alchemical knowledge and the technology available for us to, perform this great work in our lives and turn ourselves into ultimate forms of life that can be able to reshape entire civilizations into something closest as possible to an utopia. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's starvation for excellence and for showing that there is a way for us to be way better than what we currently are. If we're talking about fire, which is the central element of alchemy, we must talk about the phoenix, for you cannot rise if you're not willing to burn. So the phoenix should be our blueprint. There is a part of us that must be consumed, turned to ash. That part that is holding us back from becoming this, again, ultimate life form. From the ashes of a potential corruptibility, we can become incorruptible, or at least striving for it in such a powerful way that can make us unshakable. So, I was recording near here and a man parked his car and he seemed to be distressed. And I was talking about the phoenix and he just sat near me and was like listening. but I don't like recording when there's people looking at me and I can't focus, you know. So it's something I must overcome myself, and I'm working on it. I interrupted the recording and I went to check on him. He asked me if he was okay, and because it's an isolated place that I record these videos, and I came here to this somewhat familiar scenario for some of you. And anyway, let's go back to the train of thought. Well, I was talking about the phoenix. So you need to burn your false self in order to rise from the incorruptible ash. And be mindful that this fire won't incinerate just your past, but parts of you that were never meant to be real at all to begin with. Sometimes it requires strength to surrender. Look what I'm saying here. Sometimes it requires strength to surrender to the best that you can be and letting go of what's consuming you. Now let's talk about these two epic mythic creatures, the Behemoth and the Leviathan. You can find a description of these two creatures in the book of Job in the Holy Bible, chapters 40 and 41. It says, "Behold now the Behemoth, he eats grass like an ox. His bones are strong as pieces or brass. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook? His breath sets coals ablaze and flames dart from his mouth." So we're not talking about biblical monsters here, but the very archetypes of power. The Behemoth is simply grounded force, brutal will, whereas the Leviathan is the deep subconscious, emotional chaos. So if you want to achieve greatness and pursue the impossible, you cannot just perform the great work, you also need the shadow work. Therefore, you need to combine the Phoenix elegance, the Behemoth's endurance, and the Leviathan's depth, and of course, the Ouroboros surrender to endless transformation. So let's talk a little bit about the great shadow. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So this is the great secret of alchemists buried under these metaphors. You can't achieve the great work if you don't embrace the great shadow. Rage, guilt, fear, chaos, and power. Blend that all in and surrender to the very understanding and what you can actually wield and become from the good of these attributes channeled into starvation for perfection. In order to become the ultimate form of life, you must go through the ultimate apocalypse. I think that will apply to gods as well, right? But we are not gods. It wasn't proved so far that we cannot become like one. So, if you're deep into the abyss right now, this is the perfect opportunity for you to rise above. Where else can you go? It's already costing you everything to stay in the abyss or to rise above it and become this ultimate creature, the ultimate form of life. Which everything are you gonna choose? Before you ask for greatness, ask what you're willing to lose. Before you speak of light, ask if you ever walked blind in your own darkness. The phoenix won't fly until it burns. The Ouroboros won't become eternal unless it devours itself. You won't build your empire until you kneel before your inner Leviathan. I hope you understand this message. It's full of metaphors. I love recording videos this way, speaking through metaphors and make my audience reflect. I really believe there is a path of greatness, something impossible out there to achieve. I really believe we can craft and wield the Philosopher's Stone, the very Iliaster, in the palm of our hands, and design an entire universe, and becoming this ultimate life form, capable of tremendous things with endless possibilities. But that's only possible if we look in the eye these inner demons and majestic creatures represented in the examples I quoted, you know. So I guess, given of course the proportions, that's the story of my life. It's never been linear. Everything I managed to accomplish, it seems like I have to create this crazy paradox and then make something out of it and reach to a solution, you know. So I guess for many of us, it won't be just linear, it won't be just given to us. A privilege normally cannot be seen, and you can't see what you're not looking. Maybe this is our wake-up call message, and the very unexpected signal, the very black swan that will bring us to this full awakening. The very black swan that will change the course of our lives and introduce ourselves to this doctrinal awakening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what do you think. See you in the next one. El Psy Congo.